What's up, everyone? Happy Wednesday to you. Hope you all are enjoying your week so far. Welcome to Midnight Hatter Live, the variety show where, we talk about Gunpla, Gundam, video games, all that good stuff. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We've got, some leftovers from a project that I started yesterday on the supporters stream. So, we're going to see a little bit of what you're missing out on. But hopefully Adam's going to be able to coach me through it, and we
Yeah.
can figure this out.
I
So
thought you
yeah,
were gonna be coaching me. So,
we'll see. Hopefully we can learn a little bit from each other. But
yeah.
yes, of course, joining me as always is Adam Blue. How are you doing, buddy?
Sure. Doing good. Another good week of Gundam. I'm surprised I'm not tired of Gundam yet. In fact, after finishing Seed and Destiny this week, I started Gundam X.
Oh, nice. That is a good one to start with. Or
Yeah,
well,
I
not start. It's a good one to start on, not start
yeah,
with. You know what I mean?
because it's one that's very little talked about.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like non-existent, which is pretty crazy. So it is cool jumping into it. So far, it seems kind of just basic,
Yeah.
but I like the idea of a sort of Mad Max version of Gundam. So it's like, really, if war that happened like the 1 year or before the 1 year war happened, people would be in like this post-apocalyptic state, and that's kind
Yeah.
of what they do here. Other than that, it's like the same thing as just typical Gundam.
Yeah. There's all you're gonna run into that, I think, with a lot of these AUs. Is it's like it, it's almost like everything is Gundam, but with an asterisk attached to it.
Yeah,
So, it's like, oh, well, what if there were Gundams fighting in a tournament? Well, you got G Gundam. Like,
yeah, yeah. No, and this one just seems to be 0079 just post-apocalyptic.
yeah,
So far, it might change a whole lot, but that main guy, Garrett, he's cool. He's just like Amuro, Camille, and Judo, so
yeah.
I dig it.
You always got to have a teenager in a giant robot to show everyone who's boss.
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, I see that we've got a lot of people hanging out in chat today. What's going on? Zeonic Shadow, Ultronymous, Goose, Pyro, Squigums, Magus. I hope you all are doing well, and I hope that I'm catching you on your lunch break. Um, Zeonic Shadow says, "I don't eat lunch. I just chill." Same
Oh,
here.
that's cool, man.
I don't eat lunch either. I just stream.
Yeah. What are you doing for lunch? Streaming.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, so this is a big week, obviously, because Friday is the 44th anniversary of the original airing of the first episode of Mobile Suit Gundam. So I
Wow.
feel like it's necessary for us to do something kind of special this week, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I am going to be launching sort of a trailer on Friday. This is a little teaser for you guys. There's going to be a trailer coming out for a new series of videos that is going to start next week. And then the trailer is going to come out this Friday. Hopefully you guys are excited for it. It is in celebration of this 44th anniversary. And hopefully I can, knock out the series in time for the 45th anniversary next year.
Oh, yeah, there you go. No, that sounds exciting, to be honest. I kinda like it when we're doing our shows, whether on your channel or mine, and we kinda do those deep dives, but, for you to be able to have your own content based around that, really diving into the different shows, that's gonna be
Yeah.
beneficial a
Yeah.
lot.
I think that the timing for it couldn't be more perfect. And yeah, I'm excited to share that with you guys. But as for today, like I mentioned yesterday on the supporters only stream, we made some silicone molds of Gunpla parts. I probably should have mentioned, like, oh hey, I'm wearing blue gloves for a reason. I probably look like a creep. It's like, well, we're gonna be doing some operations today.
It's like, "Oh god."
Um, but yeah, so we're going to follow up on that with, I guess, we're gonna try and make some beam sabers here today. So with that, let me go ahead and switch to our screen share so that you guys can see my little workstation here.
Yeah, that was
All
fun
right.
yesterday playing with Legos, learning about Lego changing, I guess, the construction of the
Yeah.
blocks
So
or brick.
shout out to Pyro for mentioning that. I had no
Yeah.
idea that the Lego change over the past few years was as a way of saving cost. I thought it was like a way of saving little children's fingers from, like, I mean, when I was a kid and you would build something with Legos, it's like, well, super glue or not, that thing is stuck together. You're never
Any
getting
of the
that thing
flat
apart.
pieces for sure. If 2
Oh
flat
yeah.
pieces were together, that was a new piece.
Yeah, that's oh man. So yeah, you could forget about like the custom sets, like a Star Wars set or something like that. I'm like, well, I just ruined this entire this Millennium Falcon is never going to fly because I put this like one little circle too far.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, no, we were able to build a little mold box using Legos, and we just kind of supported it with some plasticine clay. That was probably the most time consuming piece of that was building up the walls of this Lego
Yeah.
mold
It
box
seemed
with
like that. You did that really efficiently because I guess the idea is that the silicone will leak.
yeah. So
Oh,
like with
yeah.
modern Legos, you don't have that tight, water solid fit that will contain silicone, so you had to do something to fill it in. In the past, I have tried lining the walls of it with Vaseline, which
Hmm.
sometimes works. In the previous case, it did not. So I was like, I'm just gonna go clay and
Yeah, so I guess really the only thing you would need to do to I guess, if you wanna make this a more efficient process is to figure out how to have a dynamically sealed tight, uh, area because what was cool is you had those pins that were holding the beam saber, like, floating in place.
yeah. And
The
as you can see, I was really impressed. I've never worked with this particular brand of silicone before, but I really like the fact that it is at least semi-translucent. You can see that the beam saber was held in place there. Uh, I'd
yeah,
say perfectly well. Um, and so we did make these as one part molds. I'm going to go through and we're going to cut them open to demold them, and then I guess find a way to pour resin into that mold with the filaments here. Um, just to show that they are in fact still working. I've got my little battery pack unit. See, I can probably curve this around. And I guess I should mention, so this has been an experiment a couple of weeks in the making, because the issue that I've been having is that these filaments do not stay straight when they are in the mold. So we are having to, and if I can hold these on the wire, there we go.
that's
Maybe get
cool.
that flashing effect. There we go. So the problem was that I could not get the filaments to stay straight while they're in the mold, and so then you end up having this beam saber that's all kind of curvy looking. So the idea is that by making it a single piece mold and by having these little pinholes in either side, we can kind of suspend our wire in the same way that we suspended the beam saber in the mold, and then pour the resin around it.
Dang, man, that's like did you have to do different research to just figure out ways people were doing this? Or
As
I
far
guess
as I
because it's kind of a
know,
unique thing.
I was gonna say, as far as I know, I don't know of anybody that's doing this
Yeah.
for high grade Gunpla. I
You're just
did
using techniques you've learned for other customs, and this kinda you kinda put it together to, yeah, figure this out.
exactly. It's all about taking stuff that I've done with like making miniatures and other Gunpla customs, and trying to apply that knowledge elsewhere. I did, in fact, find on AliExpress they do sell master grade sized LED beam sabers. Um,
Oh.
Now they only have a couple of different colors, and surprisingly not, pink, which would be the obvious choice for Gundam beam
Yeah,
sabers.
sure.
But they were sold out of them at the time, and again, you're limited to just master grade stuff. Master grades get all the love when it comes to customization, it seems.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's kinda easier because of the
Yeah,
size. But do you order from AliExpress much?
I've only ordered like twice from AliExpress.
But did everything turn out the way you expected?
Yeah, yeah, it was a.
Good.
Mhm.
Yeah, Pyro's saying no one questioned why he has Vaseline so close to hand at his desk. But, of course, because we all I mean, that's why I keep paper towels close by. Yeah, it's a little more coarse, but,
Yeah, we
gotta do what you gotta do.
exactly. I've got all kinds of different accoutrement for for various activities around my streaming desk in particular. Um, but yeah, so we're just gonna hop in and start carving this open. Definitely, when working with silicone, want to go with the sharpest hobby knife you've got available to prevent tearing. Because if you tear silicone, then you're not going to get.
Just because it's kinda fragile as you're puncturing it?
Yeah, it's kind of like cutting styrofoam.
Oh, I
If you,
just thinking about that doesn't sound fun. I don't think I've done it. And the mess too? Oh
oh
god.
yeah, and so I guess that's why they make those specialized like heat knives for cutting styrofoam.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
Now I don't have one, but I should invest in one given the my new interest in diorama making.
Yeah, that would be an excellent video to help me out.
There we
Yeah.
go. See, I'm always trying to educate while I
Create.
create.
That's
There
right.
we go.
Yeah, that sounded good. That's like
That's
a
a
good
good one.
motto.
All right. So I am trying to sort of curve this line as I cut it because it is going to allow, like, once I pour the resin in, it's going to kind of lock. But like basically, instead of coming back together as a flat line that can kind of move, I'm basically trying to curve it a little bit so that they can fit into grooves.
Oh, that's pretty smart.
See, again, it's all about applying applying knowledge from other previously failed
Yeah,
projects
that's
and,
cool.
hopefully leveling up from there. I kind of feel like this is you've seen that movie Independence Day, right? You
Oh, yeah.
remember the scene where they are like cutting open the alien armor?
Like,
That
yeah, it's exoskeleton or whatever.
yeah, that's how I feel right now working on this.
I remember always looking at that and, like, the way they did it, wasn't it where it already looked like I mean, there was a line there, and it looked like they're just, like, fake cutting it, and then it just kinda pops open.
Yeah.
It's
That
all,
is
physical effects, but
right. That is 90s special effects if I ever saw them.
which I gotta say, I didn't mind the sequel. It wasn't as good, but it had some cool ideas to go forward with.
It was like the next logical step for what you would expect would happen if there were an alien attack. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, of course we're going to make jets that have alien technology on them. Like,
Yeah, see, that stuff is pretty cool. Even the special effects were fun.
oh yeah,
Even if the story in the end was kinda like, "Eh," but I was just expecting it to be, like, amazing. Yet, I think that Independence Day just worked because it was just what was on everyone's top of mind, and they almost did it in a very practical manner,
they did.
you know,
Did for
so
sure. Did you ever play the like computer games that came out around that same time? I think that they came on discs that came
yes,
with the action
with the
figures.
figures, yeah. I did yeah. Oh, man, I loved those figures, because the main alien had it came with a little bendable
Yeah.
guy that went inside. I loved that, and I had the ship, the alien ship.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think I held on to that thing for a while. I loved that.
Oh yeah.
That was near the end of my, like, action figure buying. I think I remember it having the alien ship in my room and the Blade action figure, and I'm like, "I can't play anymore. What happened?"
Oh.
It's just sitting there and, like, the whole that imagination to sit there and play, it's like, by that time, it was gone.
Yeah, that's and you and I kind of we're pretty close in age, so that was like
Yeah.
around the same time that I was kind of phasing out of that stage of adolescence. Um Thankfully because I have a little brother, I was able to kind of milk it for another year and a half or so. And
Nice.
like I'm not playing with action figures myself. I'm playing with my little brother. Like it's
Yeah,
not
th no, that's excellent way to go about it. That's why kids are great. As
yes,
as your youngest gets
absolutely.
older, you can still just, yeah, get into the toys. Be
Exactly.
fun.
But yeah, and that's actually kind of um so part of the marketing degree that I have, we had to do this kind of thesis presentation about like a certain aspect of marketing, and the thing that I chose was I swear this is related to what we're talking about. So the thing that I chose was narrative in marketing, and the reason I chose it was because, um, going back to what you're kind of saying about like, oh, the creativity of playing with toys. Um, Bob Budiansky, the Marvel writer who came up with like the story behind the Transformers, really
Mhm.
saved the franchise Transformers because Diaclone, Takara, these Japanese companies, they made all these toys of, cars and tanks and things that transformed into robots. Nobody was buying them. So by creating this story about like, well, the cars are the good guys and like the military stuff's the bad guys, Bob Budiansky basically was like teaching kids how to play with these toys.
Yeah, giving them, like, ideas to have the stories. Yeah, that's
So it's a
hmm.
never underestimate the power of storytelling, not just, for entertainment purposes, but it is also being used to sell you things.
Yeah. Uh, and sometimes that's cool. Yeah, so that's interesting to think. So Transformers as Diaclone in Japan did not have an associated, story lore or anything.
Yeah. And not until they came up with the story stateside. And that's, you could get into all of like the, well, why does Jetfire kind of look like a Macross jet and stuff, and there's like all the
Oh.
licensing issues between the designs of the Transformers,
Ah,
but a lot of that comes from that same um that same origin story.
that's cool. That's a cool story, and there always seems to be new tidbits I learn
Yeah.
about that stuff coming over here.
Yeah, for sure. Like I didn't know, and I still don't necessarily know the full story about like Harmony Gold and like Macross and Robotech. I know that Robotech's the one that I watched when I was a kid, but that
Yeah.
was not it's not by choice. It's just that's what it was.
Yeah, I actually did kind of a quick deep dive on it, and it's just yeah, as they brought over Macross, changed it up a bit, combining some shows, even though they kept sort of the same original Macross story, they just changed things that made more sense in Japanese than when like the proto culture was what the bad guys called the humans. And I like that idea where some advanced alien race comes across another race and they're like, is this the protoculture? But then I think in Robotech, the protoculture had a different name and it was like a physical thing or something
Yeah.
instead of being the concept of the humans. So,
See, I'm learning stuff here.
well, for once.
um. So yeah, now I am threading the our little light up filament through the pinhole that we left in the
Wow.
side. Once I get it to a certain spot in the middle, I can kind of pull it the rest of the way, I think.
So was part of the needle, the pin being there, also part of the entryway as well as holding up the
Yeah, serves two purposes.
wow.
So not only did it hold the beam sabers in place while we made the mold, but also it is going to serve as the stabilizing force for this
Culture was a biotechnology space magic power source. Sounds like
interesting.
something they'd have in an '80s cartoon.
Yeah. So the Allspark.
Yeah.
That is-
And I
right.
still gotta finish, um, Macross. I'm, like, near the end. I just got sidetracked by Seed.
Right. Seed Destiny.
Yep.
Which, I was glad to hear that your overall enjoyment of the show was not completely ruined halfway.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, to be honest, I didn't like Kira showing up because he didn't really contribute in any way. In fact, I think he made things worse. But then
Yeah.
it got resolved near the end, and I think Kira it was for me, Shin was the main character, and Kira was sort of a way for him to learn.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
but you know what's interesting? I was surprised on my video with the comments of people just saying they didn't like Destiny. Um, and so I think I'm gonna make a video going through the complaints people have about Destiny, just to kind of talk through it and see, I
That's
'cause
a
I don't
pretty
know.
cool idea.
Yeah, it part of it is for me to maybe kind of consider what they're saying, maybe some stuff I missed because it's so weird finishing Destiny that it's like I liked it from start to end. I don't think there was a episode I watched it. I was like, eh, it just. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I mean, I was a bigger fan of Destiny than the original Seed, and that's not to say much because of course I'm a UC grognard, but
Yeah, that's the thing, like, as much as I love UC, like, I love Destiny, but I didn't like Normal Seed, like, to me, they're on opposite ends of the spectrum even though they're, like, the same series. So it
ah,
might take more time, you know, to kinda figure it out. Anyway,
so
you got it threaded through?
I did, um, I did something really dumb though. So I've got the wires exposed on this side, and I definitely threaded it through the wrong way because I'm looking at it here, and the hand with the
Oh. Well, hey,
so
at
I'm
least
just
you
gonna pull
practiced.
it through, longer on because the the handle obviously has to have the connections for the battery pack, and
Yeah.
then the tip we want to just be kind of clipped off. Um, and again, this whole sort of project was inspired by a fellow YouTuber by the name of these little LED filaments through a cocktail straw. And I was thinking to myself, because, one of the things he complains about in those videos is he has to solder the tip of the far end of the beam of the lightsaber, beam saber. He has to solder the far end of the tip so that the wire can connect around the back. And so it ends up having this kind of like ugly silver bit on the end of the beam saber. And I was like, well, EL wire does not have that same issue. So if I can
Ah,
recreate that same sort of effect using EL wire instead of these
yeah.
little LED filaments, we might be in business.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, his videos are good, gives me a lot of good ideas. Um, but what I like about your streams is I can kinda see the whole process of creating something and where, the gotchas, I guess, is a good way to put it. Like, watching your streams, I can see the gotchas, so when I go to do it myself, I'm not like, "How did he do that? What did he do?"
Yeah, why I enjoy doing these streams, especially, having you as my co-pilot here for these things, because, you're going to be asking me questions and making sure that that when I do screw up, you call me out for it. Um, but yeah, I feel like a lot of YouTuber content, it's like they show you this amazing piece of art, and then you're like, well, but you feel like Homer Simpson, like, why doesn't mine look like that? Um,
Yeah.
at least
Oh,
that's how I
man.
feel most of the time.
And I wanna say, like, for anyone watching that feels that way too, like, I gotta say, over time, just repetition, eventually, it just clicks, like, how to do something.
Yeah.
Top coating was so scary for me on my mobile suits because I didn't wanna ruin them because I have done in the past. I've done so. But now I've got it down where it's like, wow, I can really or painting little details, I don't wanna have to fix mistakes. I wanna get it as right as I can the first time, but you learn the techniques, whether that's a toothpick or something else random.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I always work with like high grades and less expensive model kits, is like, I'm not gonna trash uh one of my nicer kits because I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I'd rather, ruin my little high grade Zaku before I ruin my perfect grade Zeta. Um,
Ah,
which is
yeah,
another
it
reason why I like doing these sorts of projects that hopefully are encouraging people to
oh,
feel weird like flinging this thing around.
flopping it around.
Um, hopefully I'm encouraging people to get creative and to cut apart their high grade kits and to, like,
Take little risks.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and I think that's cool because once you finally get around to building that perfect grade Zeta, um, you now have all these, like, techniques that you may be able to apply.
yeah. I'm hoping to employ as many of these little tricks and strategies that I've acquired along the way towards that. Which, of course, the irony is, like, once you are, and to kind of bring it back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the stream, master grades and perfect grades already have so many resources for customization.
Ah, that's
And,
right.
it's like, would you have to make a beam saber like this for a perfect grade kit? No, because
It's
they
probably
all
already one.
come with LED lit beam
Oh,
sabers.
really? The perfect grades are LED lit beam
At
sabers?
least the Zeta, and I know that the
Oh,
perfect grade Unleashed RX-78. I can't speak for the Zaku's or any of the
Yeah,
other perfect
or
grades,
like
but I
heat
know that yeah, I
facelift or
mean
anything.
the LED units. I think with the Unicorn perfect grade, they had like a separate LED unit that um
Oh, yeah, they sold separately. Actually, that was funny with the, Master Grade Origin RX-78 too. There was a it either came with one or I had to buy separately the LED thing. That's way more expensive than it needs to be.
yeah, right. And that's the other thing is it's like, there's it's crazy to me how expensive some of these parts are when you really get down to what they're made up of.
Yeah.
Especially, you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm already spending nearly $200 on a perfect grade kit, and then you're telling me that I have to spend another 80 for the LEDs to light it up. Like, that's just crazy.
Oh, that reminds me of, like, I would see this Star Destroyer kit that looks badass, from Star Wars, the Star Destroyer.
Yeah.
And they sell separately a whole lighting system so that each one of the little windows in the Star Destroyer has the LED. And I saw a video of a guy doing it, and it's a lot of work. But I was like, that having a piece like that would look so good.
Oh, yeah. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. Uh, yeah. Something about having lights in little models. Just add to it.
Yeah, and there's ways to cheap it and cheese it, like
Yeah.
I always go back to my if you are afraid to work with electronics and you don't want to wire up
Oh
an
yeah.
LEDs, get yourself some of these black light fluorescent paints or you can also get glow in the dark pigments, mix these with your paints and you can get glow in the dark effects without the LEDs.
That's
Um
cool.
in fact, today I actually have an idea here because my previous experiments with these beam sabers, the first one that I made um was too translucent. So I actually cast this heat sword in the same plastic and so it was a little too clear. And so what
Still
happened was you
cool.
could see the filament through it and so it
Oh,
was yeah, it didn't
I
didn't look
see.
great.
That
Um
is a good point. I didn't consider that. So then with this new mold, what were you keeping in mind?
So
To
with the second attempt, I tried to make it more opaque so
Oh,
that we
that's
would
right.
get the light
Totally.
shining through, but we'd kind of diffuse it a little bit so that by the time it reached the surface of the plastic, it would just make the whole thing glow.
That's cool.
And that time, I made it too opaque, and it was like the color of bubble gum, and the lights you couldn't even see.
Oh,
Um, Now I did notice that. So this is well, actually here I got. This is one of the EL wires that I stripped these filaments out of, and I that under blacklight they are actually highly reactive. Um,
wow.
so I'm wondering if I mix some of our blacklight paint in with the resin,
Oh,
and I get
dang.
that
Yeah.
reactive. Can I get that same level of glow coming from the inside if the light's coming from the inside as it would from the
Dude
outside?
dude, that is a great idea.
So we're gonna test it. I've got let's see, I've got two colors of pink fluorescent paint here that we can use. This one's a little more purpley, this one's a little more like hot red. Um, so I don't know, you guys tell me, left or right, which one looks more like a Gundam beam saber?
Maybe the right one.
Yeah, that more pinkish hue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is going to be the one that we mix with our resin to try and get that perfect consistency. And I think we are just about ready to mix up the resin. So far, it doesn't look like I've got any curviness going on inside. But yeah, we're
Nice.
just going to open these guys up and pour the resin on inside.
Okay.
Um,
Good luck.
yeah, here we go. And again, because I am infamous for mixing up way too much material, no matter what I'm working with, whether it's silicone, resin, I always make way too much. That's why I
Or
wanted to
paint.
have these little Zaku Mono eyes ready to go in case I had extra. I can
Oh,
just
yeah. That's a good idea.
yeah, always
Yeah,
have
I
an extra mold.
Yeah, when I was, making some paints the other day for my airbrush or trying to get a certain color, like, I'm mixing trying to get the color I need, and it's like, I only need to paint, like, a centimeter by a centimeter, and I made so much of it, so I just have it, like, in a jar. It's that Efreet, um, orange,
Yeah.
whatever color. I mean, and I could do some touch-ups on it, so but it's kinda nice sometimes having that extra.
Yeah,
You never
yeah, for sure. That's why I definitely uh encourage people to pick up something like these guys, at least for mixing paints. This is you can get a pack of like 10 of these droppers on Amazon for a few bucks.
Wow, the
Um
dropper thing is brilliant.
yeah.
Brilliant idea.
So it's like
I
if you're going to mix up a paint, especially for like an airbrush, mix it up in this guy and then you can actually control how much paint you're putting into,
'Cause
especially when you're trying to mix
I bought some
ratios.
droppers, and I bought some jars, but I could have just simplified the experience with a dropper jar.
Dropper jars.
I'll have to go
Hashtag
grab
dropper
that.
jars. Get it
Yeah, there you go,
trending.
dropper jar.
um. So yeah, again, there's one of those things where I could have just like measured out exactly how much I need. If I were to maybe have like a graduated cylinder and I put some water in
Mhm.
it and then like used water displacement to figure out how much plastic I need to mix. Um, but we don't do that here.
Nope, we do it by eye, right?
Yeah, we're gonna eyeball it. That's also why I keep this cardboard down to not ruin my cutting mat when I'm when
Yeah.
I'm mixing these hazardous chemicals. All
It's
right.
funny how I have a cutting mat, yet if you look at the top of my desk, there's a few little paint stains. It's like, "Oh, Adam, shouldn't you just use the mat?" It's like, "Yeah."
No, that just sounds silly. So we are going to use a little bit of this pink paint. And so this is the hardener. I probably should have kept these, separate so that I know which one's which parts. So we've got our hardener and our resin. I'm going to make sure that the paint is mixed thoroughly with the resin and then mix it with the hardener. Um, I'm going to start with just a little bit because I can always add more. I can't take it out.
I like Pyro's, advice here. If you think one is wrong, use the other one. Good advice.
That's very good advice. So here
Mm,
we've got
looks delicious.
yeah, it's like the forbidden um, yeah, it's got a certain candy-like consistency and color to it.
Oh,
And in particular, if we hit it with that UV light,
oh,
man, that
yeah.
but it's still
It's like even too much for
semi-translucent.
the camera, for the contrast, because it's so good.
Yeah.
That's amazing,
It just
actually.
blows out the white balance.
Yeah,
Um so yeah, I think this is going to be good.
yeah.
Um the question is, how are we going to get it into the mold without, creating bubbles? For some reason, these ones are a little tacky. I think it's because when I made these molds, I held them down with duct tape, and I think some of the adhesive got
Oh,
stuck to the silicone.
oh, that's right, yeah, 'cause you cut the bottom of the cup and then put it on the tape.
Yeah, which again is a cheap and easy way to make like a
Yeah,
little mold box. So again, just those little tips
yeah, make
that you
things
learn
easy.
here. Now, fortunately, this particular resin has an extremely long work time. I think it's like 45 minutes. It takes about
Wow,
24 hours to cure. So I imagine that by Friday, I will be able to record a little 1 minute YouTube short and show you guys the
oh,
final
sweet.
product of what we get here. Um, the idea, of course, being that if I can achieve the results that I'm looking for with this technique, my goal is to employ it with the high grade the O kit. and have like the wires running up into the skirt of the O so
Oh,
that
yeah.
the little underarms can carry light up beam sabers.
That's a good kit for that just because of all that space it actually has.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we're
Alright.
going to basically just kind of spoon this stuff in here.
And I guess you can really just be as messy as you want, right? Because it's really what's inside that matters. That's what I've always been taught.
Yeah, that's what mom says, and I'm gonna stick to it.
I mean, it almost looks like you're making a candy hot dog, and it looks appetizing, I gotta admit.
Yeah. Man, there was a restaurant when I was a kid, that was like right around the corner from my house, and they had those like candy hot dogs. Have you had those things? They almost like
No.
had purple. Oh man, they were crazy, and I would always beg my parents for one. And
Wow, yeah, never heard of that. I know that they have, like, gummies that can be in any shape. They'll be
oh
like
yeah,
you could buy a thing of a burger and fries, but they're all gummy, or like a pizza, and it's all gummy. Yeah, it's kinda funny. Now, when you're done with this, and I guess after it cures and all that, and you take it out, is there gonna be some trimming you will be doing?
so I'll definitely have to trim the edge of the wire. Hopefully there's not going to be a lot of flashing because basically,
Flashing, okay.
um, yeah, that's one of the advantages of like a one part mold like this is that any of the flashing is going to be on the top here, and hopefully it's going to be all just
Mm.
squeezed out.
Yeah,
Um,
especially because you have that little curve you put into the cut. That's gonna also keep it from moving side to side or vertically to vertically? I don't know the terminology there.
yeah. Well, and that's another. I'm glad you mentioned that because one of the things that I'm going to want to do here is use a toothpick to make sure that I get all of the air bubbles out and
Ah,
fill
nice.
all of the little nooks and crannies, especially with this one because this is the one that has the hand molded onto it.
Yeah.
So I'm worried about, of course, filling up that section of the mold. But I think this is filled in pretty well.
Wow.
Go ahead and let that ooze out of the top.
Yeah, I
So
think that's a good sign if it's
yeah,
oozing out.
yeah. If you've got that much coming out, then you can only imagine how much is stuck in there.
Yeah.
So again, we'll do the same thing with this one, and like I said, I made way too much resin.
Atronomist is asking, how do you tell if you got all the air bubbles? Now, is that possible? Is it just you gotta maybe the application, you have to feel confident in it?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know.
there's probably the honestly the best and probably the only way to get all of the air bubbles out is going to be to use a vacuum chamber. I don't have one of those, unfortunately. But a vacuum chamber, basically over the course of however many hours it takes to cure the resin, will suck all of the air out of the chamber, and therefore, all of the air bubbles that are trapped inside the resin are going to get pulled out.
Is this like a little box with some, like, exhaust?
Yeah, it's like a little cylinder that has like a motor attached to it and just kind of
Huh,
creates a little zero pressure chamber.
pretty cool.
But yeah, I have not invested in one of those yet. I probably should for the number of like molds that I make and
Yeah,
and that
depending on the
sort of
air
thing.
bubbles, yeah.
Um, but hopefully air bubbles should not play too much of a role in these particular molds, given that really the only thing I'm trying to avoid is having huge gaps in the mold, whereas, maybe
Oh,
having some
like
of these
where the stuff didn't go,
yeah, yeah,
maybe? Okay.
that's what I'm definitely trying to avoid. See if we can a little bit more delicately with
Another thing, because I don't know if I could see that clearly, or maybe you can't even, like, as you're putting the stuff in the resin, is it are you having to also watch for the wire to make sure you're not kinda moving it around? 'Cause that could be hard to do.
yeah, so what I'll probably end up doing is after I have all the resin set in there, I'm just gonna give the wires like a little tug to
Oh,
kind of
straighten it out. Yeah.
retaught them. Is that a word? Retaught?
I think it is, and when I heard you say it, I was like, "Wow, good word. Good word."
Now this one, it's crazy because it's like when I open it up, it looks like there's nothing
There's
in
nothing
there.
there. Yeah, that is interesting.
So I hope that it's not just like running all of the resin out every time I close it. I probably need to stop opening and closing it, but we got to make sure that it all gets in there.
Yeah.
I suppose. Oh, hey, there we go. You look at the backside because it's translucent. We can see that
Yeah?
it's filled in almost. Need to add a little bit more. And like I said, because we made way too much, we're gonna fill in these little
Oh,
mono
nice.
eyes. Can't have too many resin effect mono eyes. Um,
And so I forgot, so that's the whole headpiece underneath the helmet, but would you just paint the rest of it and just keep the resin part exposed?
yeah, exactly. So,
That's
and
cool.
again, that's one of the reasons that I love the Thunderbolt version of the Zaku head so much is that the mono eye part, like the inner eye, actually has the mono eye sort of sculpted into it instead of it being just a sticker.
Yeah.
And as a result of that, you actually know exactly where to paint around. Whereas, the Origin one, I think my hand's clean. Origin one is completely flat on the front.
It's just you plop a sticker on there.
So I think what I might do is put a sticker on there and then spray it black, and that'll be my masking for the.
That's a good idea, actually.
Might as well use the sticker that came with it, but
Yeah.
not necessarily for its sticker's sake. I want to make sure that I've got the air bubbles out of here. And I've got a bunch of resin left over, which will serve as my control. I will know that the beam sabers are completely cured when this hardens. That's
Ah.
always an advantage of making way too much resin is that I can use it as my gauge for when we know that this is done.
So, Pyro's bringing up, wouldn't a resin mold work better for GM Leo? Not necessarily better, but I guess those would just be a really good fit for it,
GM Leo.
or
I'm not sure.
GM/Leo, either one. Because I guess the Leo just has that big square in the middle of its head.
Oh,
The
yeah.
GM has the wider visor.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't have the high grade Leo kit, so I don't know it's a separate piece of plastic. Could you do that?
Hmm. And it's weird with the GMs because a lot of times their visors are kinda different. Like, there's
True.
even one I just oh, yeah, I've got it right here. I just built the GM2. I found one in a store,
Hey,
which is awesome.
nice.
What's interesting is once I put the, visor on, I realized, "Wait, I should have painted some, like, silver and gold underneath," but I can't take the visor off.
Wait, you
It's
can't?
No, it's just I tried to on, like, the edges to maybe, like, pop it, but it's in there good. It's one of those pieces that once you put it in, it's in.
Yeah,
Um,
so I have a couple of here. Um, we've got our ground type GM command, and we've got a GM type C ground type. And you
nice.
notice that their visors look a little bit different because on the type C, I actually applied some of our
Wow.
phosphorus paint
That is
underneath
so
the
bright.
visor. So
That's
like,
crazy.
yeah, we're not getting any glowing coming from him, but that is
Yeah.
pretty sweet.
Wow.
So yeah,
And
absolutely, you could definitely cast some of
and
these
was that
resin
just
parts.
paint?
This was just the paint, yeah.
And you painted underneath the visor?
Yeah, underneath the
Wow.
visor, just applied it directly to the so this is one of those GMs that on the inside kind of has like the molded like you can see sort of like the mono eye that's underneath and it has like a couple of
Yeah.
panel lines.
Yeah, the GM2 is like that. That's what I found interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just filled all that in. I was like, I mean, no one's gonna see that detail. You can't see it on the GM command.
Yeah.
So
That is true. When I am looking at it, it's like you really can't see up close, but I gotta figure out I'll try to find if someone knows how to take off those visors once you've put it on.
yeah, I had that same experience with when I went to customize this SD Zaku.
Mhm.
Same thing. The mono eye sits inside of a and I can take him apart to show you what, because I think we've got a few more minutes before the end of the stream today.
Yeah.
So I'll take this mono eye apart to show you because I had to do the same thing when I made this one a
Uh-huh.
light up mono eye. And that is that on the inside, you see it's like all caulked up with.
Yeah.
So what I
Yeah.
had to do was, because it's basically a shallow hole that has a clear plastic piece in the middle of it. So what I ended up doing was I took a pin and a and like a small drill bit, and I drilled a hole in the back of the mono eye case, and then just like took a needle and popped out the mono eye.
Mm.
And the only reason I was able to do that was because I knew that I was going to be covering it up with the paint anyway, so it's not a big deal that there's a hole in the back of it. But
Yeah, I remember you bringing that up. I'm gonna have to see if the GM2 gives me that option.
yeah, and hopefully, like I think that the finished product with this SD Zaku, we still maintain the full mobility of the mono eye, and
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I love how it reflects off the bottom of the visor.
yeah,
Like,
that's the other cool thing about using these paints is that you almost get a little bit of color bleed. You get that what do they call it? OSL in Warhammer, the object
oh,
source lighting. So you get that like little slight color bleed that comes off onto the sides of the piece. So
yeah,
yeah, I
look,
mean, you kind of get a little bit of green reflection off of that visor.
yeah, man, that looks great.
So that's it. That's what we've got going here.
Cool.
Let's see. I'm gonna hop back over to just the large screen here. Oh, hey, cheers, Magus. Appreciate you. Appreciate you hanging out. There's not much else. We're gonna be chatting about on stream, just looking at the chat a little bit. Pyro says he was debating using the, I assume the paint or resin for the hem thrower Leo.
Mm,
Um, Pyro says the only GM he's built is the 1/100 scaled GM Sniper 2.
cool one.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. Um, I have noted dislike of SD kits. Yeah, I'm not super into SD kits myself, but it was SD December.
Yeah,
We had to celebrate, and what better way than our little Zaku that's got.
it's fun every once in a while because they're different, and then you can just do whatever and not care.
Yeah, exactly. Um but yeah, I highly recommend, and this is, part of what I would like to do is, again, make these types of parts available. That's actually why I labeled these mono eye parts, is I want to make these parts available for people where it's like, "Oh, do you want a glowing Origin Zaku resin piece?" I'll, like, obviously I know it fits because I cast it from that piece. Like,
Yeah,
so all I'm doing is making it a special effect part and then ship it to you, and you can just plug it in and go.
and that is cool because with customizing, there's a lot people will do.
Yeah.
There's a lot people won't do, but this is a way for people to kinda meet in the middle. Go as far as they want with their customizing, but then they can rely on you to get maybe some extra stuff, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah. And so I think it's going to be a fun little venture. Hopefully you guys will
Oh, yeah.
stick around with me for it. And hopefully you're enjoying the misadventures as far as making these.
Yeah. No, it is fun. I've learned a lot.
And I mean, at the very least, um, even if the lighting effect fails on the beam sabers, they still light up under blacklight. So it's not necessarily a,
Yeah, that is cool.
But yeah, is there anything that I'm missing?
No, I don't know. I think it's if you think about your stream yesterday for supporters and then your stream today and maybe some prep, that's really not a long time it takes to do this.
No, yeah, and I actually found out I thought that this silicone took a lot longer to set. It actually set in about 3 to 5 hours.
Oh,
Um, I didn't demold anything until, about an hour ago when we started streaming. So, it got a little bit of extra time. That is one thing I should mention is that when we do add, these sorts of additives to the resin, it does lengthen the cure time.
yeah, makes sense.
So,
But
what
gotta
is
keep in mind.
normally, like a 24-hour cure, it's closer to like a 48-hour cure.
Ah, the longer the cure, the better, I guess, just to be safe.
Yeah, yeah, and especially with these because one of the things that I'm afraid of by demolding them early, I would be worried that the natural curve of those filaments is going to bend the resin. So it's like I want the resin to be
Interesting.
set before I pull
Oh,
these
yeah.
guys out. Um, so I'm
Oh,
definitely going to
man.
give them the full 2 to 3 day treatment.
Super stoked. I can't wait.
Yeah, me too. I'm this one better work out. Because we tried it before using the Oyumaru molds, which got decent results, but I think that the silicone molds are going to be more accurate, and obviously they hold the filament in place a lot better than the Oyumaru molds. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, like I said, that's about it for this particular stream. Got a big announcement coming out Friday for Gundam Day. What are we going to be talking about tomorrow on the Gundam Explained show? You want to give us a preview?
Yeah, I think I want us with chat to kind of figure out what was the plot of the first season of Witch from Mercury.
Ooh,
We'll
okay,
kind of talk about it and be like, what really happened? What are the main things that happened that we need to maybe come to expect resolved in season two? Yeah, and then a few other little things, but yeah.
awesome. Well, yeah, I've got some interesting theories that I think you'll
Oh,
enjoy.
nice. I like that. Good. Good.
Sweet. Well, that said, yeah, like I said, definitely check out the description down below. Make sure you're subscribed to Gundam Explained if you're not, because
Yep.
otherwise
Yep.
you might miss tomorrow's show.
That's true. True. True.
But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in and keeping the chat lively while Adam and I kind of tinker away in the lab and make these horrible chemistry mistakes.
But it's awesome. I don't even think I saw a mistake unless
I mean, we made a
well next
mess,
time.
but
Yeah. Well, next time you show like it's all a disaster, then it's like, okay, well, but no. Probably gonna be awesome.
yeah, it's a good experiment.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, thank you guys so much, and until tomorrow, catch you later.
Yeah. See y'all.